Once again, I am not a healthcare professional. Anything you see in a tactical review video is only dubiously, at best, to be considered advice. Well, hi everyone, and welcome back to Tactical Review. So once again, I find myself making a not so tactical, but probably timely video. So in the past, I may have made a somewhat callous joke concerning the coronavirus that we are now calling COVID-19, and it seems a little less than appropriate in retrospect. Like many jokes. Anyway, with this disease having been declared an official pandemic by the World Health Organization, and with many of us seeing it disrupt our lives, if for no other reason than you can't find toilet paper when you go to the store, well, I kind of thought we'd talk about that. So I'd like to lead off with, as in any situation, panic is the enemy. If you're panicking, then you're not reasoning through a situation, and that's never your best course of action. As in any situation, panic and ignorance are our two biggest enemies. As a matter of fact, I feel I have much less to fear from this virus, even should I contract it, than what I would have to fear from my fellow Americans who are panicking over the virus and the potential economic downturn, and etc., etc., etc. So I thought we'd talk about this here for just a few minutes, maybe put your minds at ease, and give you some information maybe you haven't come across. Maybe you have, and this is all review for you, and you're just one of those awesome folks who watches all of my videos because you support the channel, and I appreciate you guys. But for the rest of you, let's dig into some numbers. Now, as you may or may not be aware, this particular strain of coronavirus first reared its ugly head in the Wuhan province of China. And through various sundry routes and avenues, it has now made its way to nearly every country on the globe. And the cases in the United States seem to be growing at an astronomical rate. Now that's both good and it's bad. I know, it's crazy, right? Me saying it's good. It's good from a statistical standpoint, and we will get into that here. Well, let's just start digging into it. So with this disease starting in China, this kind of gives us the worst case scenario numbers. For one thing, COVID-19 is a strain of SARS, and as such, it's an acute respiratory disease. Well, in China, they are famous for their air quality and for their smoking habit, and not famous in a good way. Neither of those tend to be very good. And so, with this being a respiratory illness, I really think that China gives us some of our worst case scenario numbers, with the possible exception of Italy. And also in China, this highly infectious disease took root in a very densely populated country. So not only do we have poor lung health overall, but we also have densely populated area where the disease could spread very quickly. So some of these preliminary numbers that we have, and I will be putting those up on screen in this general area where I like to put things up on screen. We have some fatality rates they come to us from China. And so 0 to 9 year old we have a 0% mortality rate for this particular disease. 10 to 19 years old, we see that jump up to 0.2%. And what that means is that for every 1,000 people infected at age 10 to 19, on average, 2 of them would die. 20 to 29, 0.2%. 30 to 39, 0.2%. 40 to 49, we see a doubling to 0.4%, or 4 out of 1,000. However, at age 50, we see a very sharp ramp up of mortality rate. 50 to 59, we see 1.3%, or 13 out of every 1,000. 60 to 69, 3.6%, or 36 per 1,000. 70 to 79, 8%, or 80 per 1,000. And 80 plus years old, we see a 14.8% mortality rate. So as you can see, this is a disease that is very hard on older populations, which is part of the reason that Italy is seeing the mortality rate that they are seeing, is because the average age in Italy trends towards mid-40s to early 50s. And on this next infographic that you'll be seeing up on the screen, you see how pre-existing conditions or underlying conditions contribute to the mortality rate in all of the various ages. Cardiovascular disease gives you a 10.5% higher chance, diabetes 7.3, respiratory disease 6.3, and as you see on the screen. And these infographics, as you can see, are licensed Creative Commons, so they're available to share, which is why I'm sharing them. All of this looks like big cause for panic, right? Because we also then see, again, a super high mortality rate in the country of Italy. And when you look at what the infection rates or the reported caseload in Italy was day by day and week by week, and then you look at the United States caseload where it is now spreading, we're kind of a couple weeks behind Italy, and you look at those numbers per day and they appear to be going hand in hand. So many of you would see this, maybe not many of you. You're watching Tactical Review. You are the educated and astute viewer. You are particular in your taste. But your friends, some of your friends aren't subscribed to this channel, and maybe they are panicking. But it's important to point out, though, that the United States population is much larger than the Italian population, and so that makes for a lower percentage of infected population. Now, that said, we are at the very beginning of this outbreak. Okay? What I would like to point out, though, is that at the most current statistics I could find, which I'm putting up on screen right now, there were 4,657 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the U.S. Of those, 86 have sadly perished. So that does put this at currently approximately a 1.8% fatality rate. We're hovering right around twice as serious as this current flu season's flu. So what am I telling you? Am I telling you not to worry about it? No, I'm not. Am I telling you that it's the time to absolutely panic? No, I'm not. As with so many things, common sense needs to rule the day. So like many of you, we in this house have been impacted by school closures. We've been impacted by grocery scarcity. Okay, and I'll touch back on that again. We've been impacted by dine-in restaurant closures. We've been impacted by social gathering and athletic gathering closures and cancellations. And what this should not do is this should not incite fear and panic, but rather we should understand that these actions are being done to limit social contact. This is a highly contagious strain of coronavirus. it's recommended to maintain a 6-foot social distance. Why is that? Well, as far as I can tell, this virus is not truly airborne, but rather it's born in droplets, the spittle droplets and whatnot. So when you cough, you should do polite things like cough into an elbow or into your shoulder. It can live on surfaces up to 72 hours. Okay, so 6 foot though gives the ability for droplets to settle out of the air if somebody is coughing or sneezing. Right? So, common sense things. We should be washing our hands. Soap and water, this is fun. Soap and water by itself will not kill the virus. However, when you add friction, okay, so if you're washing your hands properly, that breaks down the viral shell and then allows the soap to kill the virus. Hand sanitizer, scrub, okay? Hand sanitizer just sitting on it won't necessarily do it. Add that friction, okay? Be wiping down high-touch surfaces frequently. If you do have to venture out into the public, okay, only do so if you absolutely have to. Now is not the time for, oh, I'm going to run to the grocery store because a bag of chips would be nice. Let's live on what we have, but let's talk about those grocery store trips. The CDC recommends, if possible, to have a month's supply of essentials on hand. So even in a family the size of mine, we don't need 400 rolls of toilet paper to get through the next month. I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that your family doesn't either. I don't understand why people are hoarding toilet paper, but you've noticed that they are. I don't understand why there's no ramen noodles on the shelf, but there aren't. If you are a prepper, well, number one, you're not the one who's out there trying to hoard things. Congratulations. If you've decided to be a prepper, it's time to change your mind. Start prepping after we get through this for the next one. Okay, once an emergency hits, it's not the time to be a prepper. If you've not prepared in advance, then you need to stay the course and get just what you need. Because there are 330 million of the rest of us who still have to live in this country as well. Obviously, I am making this with a United States audience in mind. Some of this stuff is, kind of across the board, but some of this is directed to my fellow Americans. If you're out there buying every bottle of hand soap or hand sanitizer, well, guess what? The way we're going to get through this is by everybody practicing these good habits. So if you buy up all the hand sanitizer and hand soap, guess what? You're part of the problem. Why is it a 14-day quarantine that's recommended? Well, fact of the matter is that you can be contagious but asymptomatic or only very mild symptoms for 7 to 14 days. The idea is that after 14 days, you will either you won't be showing symptoms because you haven't contracted the virus, or at that point you will be showing more severe symptoms and you'll know that further quarantine until you finish getting healthy is recommended. Another thing you need to know, and I'm putting this up on screen as well, are common symptoms. Okay, we are still coming out of flu season. Matter of fact, I just had family members who were diagnosed with influenza A. We're in cold season. Okay, you hear that I'm congested. Depending on how I edit this, you've probably heard me cough a couple of times. So it's really important, though, to know the symptoms of the various potential illnesses, and we're coming into allergy season, so that you know whether or not you need to contact your healthcare provider and be tested for coronavirus. In my instance, I have not run a fever at all. I've had a runny nose. That's not a common symptom for COVID-19. And finally, a week ago, my wonderful son had a cold with a cough. I've got a pretty good guess where I got this from. if you're having the shortness of breath and the high fever, and etc., and you need to go see your healthcare provider, you should call in advance, share with them your symptoms, and work with them and follow the directions they give you. It may be an atypical visit because of the communicability of this particular disease. All right, don't just show up coughing all over the place. I need an appointment. And infect, 5 other people. Let me try to kind of wrap this all back up. For the vast majority of us, it's life-altering because of the way it's affecting the economy, the way that it's causing us to have to self-quarantine. But for the vast majority of us, we will, if and when we contract this, it's going to be a miserable time that we're going to come through relatively unscathed in the long run. However, if you're in one of those high-risk groups, you absolutely need to be careful. You need to be limiting contact. If it's at all possible, I've actually kind of got a plan. I was talking to my wife. Even if we were to end up contracting the virus and having to quarantine, I have coworkers who I could call, ask them to go on grocery runs, send them the money from the groceries PayPal, and have them drop it off on the back porch. After they leave, I could collect the groceries. I'm putting plans in place for minor things like that. I also have plans in place for complete societal collapse in case everybody decides to just be complete morons. But that's outside the prospects of this video, and that's what kind of always like a background thing, because I've learned to not underestimate the stupidity of people in large numbers. If you have any more questions, make sure to hit me up on the live stream coming up on Wednesday. Don't touch your face. Don't do what I just did. If I don't have answers, maybe I can research those in real time. Because of my employment, I don't have an inside track on any information, but I'm getting information almost as quickly as it's coming out within the state of Indiana. Okay, state of Indiana has recommended no gatherings larger than 50. I'm saying if you can just hang out at home and love your family, do that. All right, it's the time. If you can get out and get fresh air without contact with other people, okay. So, guys, hopefully I'm going to have some more like normal content coming out very soon. It's been a weird couple of weeks, and I know it has been for you guys as well. So I appreciate you guys watching. I know it's not the normal stuff, but I'd still appreciate a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. If you're watching on YouTube, ring that notification bell. I promise this isn't the kind of normal stuff you're going to get here on Tactical Review. If you're not following the channel on social media, I'd recommend hit us up there. Number one, you're going to see more normal gun channel stuff on social media, and it's also where I will just share all sorts of things. I share what I'm doing in a workout. I hope that's inspirational to some of you guys. Political stuff, probably if there's anything super breaking about the COVID-19 outbreak, I will share that on social media. So it's a good way for all of us to stay connected. Once again, though, social media in small doses. If you're finding it's leading you to panic, do the mental health smart thing and just step away from it. This will be the last video that I can remind you guys to do this. If you're not signed up for the 250 subscriber giveaway, you need to get over to the website and get that done. Registration closes at 11:59 p.m. Eastern, Tuesday, March 17th. Drawing will be done live on the live stream Wednesday the 18th. So that starts at 9 p.m. We'll give people time to get into this live stream, and then we will do the drawing. Guys, thanks so much for watching, and until next time, shoot straight, stay safe.